So in our previous video, I dug the holes, set these posts nice and level and plumb, cut the posts off perfectly level, and we set these beams in place. Next step is we need to fasten the beams to the post. So for years we've been doing this with a variety of methods, and lately we've been using like this normal Simpson strong tie, like a bracket, galvanized bracket goes from the post to the beam. They're okay, they work fine, but we found that they're kind of ugly. I think it's kind of a cheap, cheesy way of doing that connection myself, since traditionally they were mortised and tenon. The post would be mortised into the beams, and the brackets rust pretty quickly, especially in a beach environment like this. I really just don't think it's the best way to go. The brackets will be the first thing to rust out on your build. So they work, they're fine, we use them all the time, but this is what we're enjoying as a lot better way to fasten a beam to a post. So what we've got is, zoom in here, there we go. It's a timber lock 10-inch screws. You can get these at Home Depot. And we've got an 1/8-inch drill bit. So we're going to pre-drill with the 1/8-inch drill bit the full length of the screw, the full 10 inches, and then we're going to send these in. That's going to make for a really nice job at fastening this beam to these posts, and the fasteners are hidden inside because they're protected by the wood and sandwiched in there. They're less likely to rust, not exposed to salty air as much. So let's just go ahead and do this. You really want to pre-drill these screws. It just makes for a stronger fastener and less likely to split the wood. So let's go ahead and get started. You'll hear the generator come off and on today. It's just going to be the nature of the beast. Okay, you want to make sure that the post is lined up nice and level and everything's where it needs to be. I already did these, they look perfect, so we'll just go for it. We're going to do 2 of these screws per joint. So where there's this butt, that means there's going to be 2 going in from this side, 2 going in from that side. And I like to put a little bit of angle on these. So we're starting trying to align at the edge of the post. Each screw is angled slightly in and slightly. Basically just each screw is angled slightly towards the center of the beam, and they'll all go in and tie in real nicely. Hey, I love this fastening method. Find it to be a big improvement over bracket and other things we've done in the past. It's hard to beat these screws. They just don't come out, and they're so strong. Now we just send these, and again, you want to be real careful not to strip them out. Don't go too tight, just till they're tight. That's amazing. So this way, it can still flop because there's nothing tying it back to the building, but side to side, just with those screws, it like doesn't even move. Pretty impressive. There it is. Okay. Next step here is we got our beam in place, all fastened together. Now we need to put the ledger on the side of the house. The ledger is a board that attaches to the side of your building, and the joists are going to attach to the ledger with joist hangers. We are going to use hangers at that end, and the ledger is what supports that end of the joist. It's really an important board. There's two details you really got to understand. The first one is that ledger board supports that whole end of the structure, so it needs to be as strong as this. So what that means is you need to use those same kind of ledger lock screws and put in the appropriate number of fasteners to fasten the ledger strongly to the wall to meet code. We use ledger lock screws. We used to like spikes and stuff, but second thing you need to remember is that the ledger is one of the main places that causes rot in a house, because if you don't do it properly and you just nail the ledger to the side of the house, the water will run in all those nails and it'll rot the whole front of your house out. One of the most often things you replace as a carpenter is these ledgers and these decks and the rim joists of your house, and often the ends of your floor joists of your house. So you really want to get this right. There's two ways to do it that I know of. The first one is what we use called a Stratton bracket. I'll link the Stratton brackets below. I would suggest using them. That is how I build about 90% of our decks almost all the time. I really like the Stratton bracket. What it does is it holds your ledger off the side of the house so that the water can cleanly run down behind the ledger and off the side of the house. In this case, the stores in my town were all out of Stratton brackets. So we're going to use the other method. The other method is basically we apply a piece of black rubber bitathane ice and water shield to the house, and then the ledger goes flat against that. And then when we put the siding on, we'll put another piece of flashing that brings the water out so it drips off the front of the ledger. It is really moist out here today. Okay, let's go ahead and show you what I'm talking about here. So the ledger board, just a 2x6 that we need to nail onto the side of the house right here. So they used to make this mistake a lot. I'm sure people still make this mistake where they just nail the board on here, and then water would go in all those nails and rot this end of the house out. Really common. So the two ways to do it are Stratton brackets, which is a bracket that pulls the ledger off the building so the water could run down here, or the method we're going to use today. So you need to get yourself a roll of this. There are a few different brands, but Vicor Peel and Stick Ice and Water Shield. You really want to use this product here because it has an attribute where it seals around the fasteners. So we're going to send a bunch of these big timber lock screws into here to fasten this in place. This product will actually seal itself around the fasteners and will stop water from going in to the house for a very long time. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started here. So if you keep watching these videos, you'll see me do another deck. We build a lot of decks. I got a couple on the horizon coming up, so you'll see me doing with the Stratton brackets. It's a nice way to go. I think it looks really clean. But like I said, this is going to be totally fine. So we need to make sure when we put this on here that the Vicor sticks up past the 2x6 we're going to put on here, at least 2 inches, so that our siding can come down over it. So the water comes down the siding and then it will stay on the outside of the Vicor, and it will also have a piece of flashing so the water comes down the siding and goes out over the edge of the ledger there. So let me grab my nails here. If you guys are in a different environment than me, you might actually be able to get this stuff to stick. When it's wet and cold, you just nail it on or staple it on, it's totally fine. The one funny thing is that it's actually nicer to use this stuff when it's wet and cold, when it doesn't stick. So I'll show you this here. For those of you guys that are builders in hot places, I wonder if you get to experience this. So normally, this stuff is so sticky, I mean, you can't do anything with it. Like, it will literally, like, it would just be glued all over my hands, glued all over everything. But when it's wet and cold, it doesn't have any stickiness at all, I mean, none. So you can put it on, in Alaska anyways, and then you don't have to worry about fighting it so much. So you actually I don't like doing this stuff in the summer. When it's hot, it's so hard, and in the winter when it's cold, it's real easy to put it on. So this is, in this case, going to be the flashing that protects the house here. Okay, so my ledger is ready to go on now. So just pay real close attention there. It's pretty simple. I mean, you put the strip on there and put the ledger on there. That's it. But just make sure that you do this. You don't forget it. Okay? And make sure that you didn't use a 6-inch piece. You used the 9-inch or 12-inch to get yourself up a little extra high. So we'll go ahead and we'll just tack this ledgers up here real quick with screws, and then I'll show you the ledger lock. From here on, actually I guess even from before here, we're crowning everything. So what that means is you're going to look down the length of every board, this, and what we're looking for is which way the board is arced up or is it arced down. You always want the arcs up so that the deck will be humped up a little bit, and then when it settles with time it'll go to straight. Whereas if you'd already set these the other way, the deck would already have a little bit of sag and it would continue to get sag over time. And the boards are actually stronger when set like this. So crown up. This case is pretty straightforward. It just goes right out to where this top corner meets it. Right there. Okay. And we're just going to tack this in place with these screws, and then we'll put in the ledger lock. Oops. Okay. Our ledger's hanging there in place now. So the next step is we want to install the layout, draw the layout on this, because the big screws that we need to put in to fasten this in place, they need to be centered in between where the floor joists are so that our floor joists don't hit them. They could be kind of on the side of the floor joist, but I just center them. Make it a little simpler. Let's go ahead and do that real quick here. You lay out your ledger first, then we'll run those lines out square to our beam, and we'll lay this beam out short. This is a small deck. In this circumstance, the joists only span less than 5 feet. It's really a short span. So this just gets framed with 2x6 on 24-inch centers. You need to make sure that if you design your own deck, that you follow all the span tables for your area, make sure that your deck is strong enough. So you might need to frame it at 16-inch centers, depending on how big your boards are, and you might need to use like 2x8s, 2x10s, or 2x12s instead of 2x6s. This deck, like I said, it's 5 feet. So we're going 2-foot span. So you hook your tape on the far end of the ledger and you measure 2 feet, okay? That's the center of the joist. So then we come 3/4 inch over and you put next. And the reason you do that is that if we put a perfect 16-foot board on, let's see. So if we've used the perfect 16-foot board, it would just fit perfectly here. So let's go ahead, do 4 feet, put an X at 4, and mark it 1 inch to the right. 6 feet, X, 1 inch to the right. Oh, that's exactly 8, that's easy. X, 10, X, 12, 13, X. So that's simple layout. You'll see us do that over and over and over again here. Now we'll use a square, we'll run square lines down like this. X, okay. That's where our floor joists go. Oh, this is fun. I love building. Decks are fun. It's like nice, simple frame in. Honestly, every bit of this project has been fun. Okay. At this point, we're ready to fasten the ledger to the wall with these big screws, and we're ready to install our joist hanger brackets here on the mark. So I'm just gonna eyeball for the middle of these. They don't need to be perfect, and send them in. We also don't need to pre-drill in this circumstance. Because the screws will just run in real easy. These don't always need pre-drilling. So I'll just show you here. These are just these awesome ledger lock screws. And in this case, we're gonna send one in between every joist. Just till it was tight, okay? Not over tightened. And we're just gonna do one for every frame bay. End. Well, you'll see our pattern here. Depending on the size of your deck, you'll need to use more or less of these. They might call for 2 right next to every joist where you live. This is how we generally do it, and it is beyond strong. Okay. So that one, I spun it a little bit too hard and I actually saw it stripped. It'll still do a lot of its job because the force on these screws is actually straight down, so they could just be a nail and be fine. We'll just put another one in out of principle. Perfect. So not too tight, just till they start to really kick in there. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, we are just cruising right along here today. If you'd like to come along for more of these how-to videos about how to build A-frame cabins or how to build decks like this, as soon as this one's done, we're moving on to the next one. So please remember to click those like and subscribe buttons below. What I do is I design and build cabins just like the one you see behind me, using mostly timber that we harvest ourselves. So we go logging to start these jobs. We started in the forest, and then we go through the whole process of building the cabin from the tree all the way to the finished product that you're gonna see here on this channel very soon. So please remember to click the like and subscribe buttons below. My hope is that people will see how to build your own cabin using trees you have on your land. And then I'm hoping some people will see how we do this and they'll say, hey, that's pretty nice, I'd like this cabin myself. You can purchase this from me today on the internet at secondgrowthhomes.com, and you can email me at secondgrowthhomes@gmail.com. I'm gonna go ahead, run down, get the joist hangers. We're gonna install the joist hangers on this ledger, and then we'll run our joists out, nail them in place, and we're gonna be looking like a deck here real quickly. This just looks great. You can see the nice detail with this bit of thing behind there. That's going to keep any water from ever going in there. The siding will come down over the top of it, and then there'll be a flashing on the siding that actually comes out here, and that's just to try to get the water to go out this way instead of sitting on top of this ledger. Awesome. Oh, that's looking great. Let me show you that here. Here we go. Get our joists in here, and gonna be looking great here today. So we are using normal joist hangers here today. So this is the one place where it's really hard to beat a hanger. You need to put this ledger here. We can't put it down here. And okay, it's hard to beat a joist hanger there. I think that everyone went a little crazy with these, and that we should pretty much only use them here, and in most other places we should use something else like those big screws or half lap joints like we did here on the A-frame. So I'll show you how to put these on, the way I do it. You want to use the appropriate nails. I have to just open the box. What the heck? So you want to use the appropriate nails. So these are, you know, these I call them Tico nails, but they're these short fat nails that are built, designed just for this. There's a couple different ways to put joist hangers on. The way I like to do it is just put one side on, and I don't put a block in there. So just hold the hanger up exactly where it needs to go, making sure that that bottom corner is just perfect. And there's a little tab right here that you just tap in. Okay. Make sure we're just perfectly on that line. Oops. So you can hold a block of wood in there and get them like this and then set the joist, but I like to just do one side. So I just go along and throw one side of these up, and then I'll nail the other side while I'm putting the joist in place. So just pay attention to that bottom corner. Perfect. That top nail first. Perfect. We'll just go along, we'll get all these in place. And we can install the joists. Okay, I'll get the oscillo set real quick and we'll get going. Awesome. So what we'll do now is I'm going to cut all the joists to length. And we'll go ahead and set them all in the hangers, fasten them down to this beam. So my deck is going to be exactly 6 feet total width. That's just what I decided. It was supposed to be a 6-foot deck. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the joists off 3 inches shorter than 6 feet. And that's because there's an 1.5 inch ledger board on that end of the joist, and there's an 1.5 inch rim board that goes on the outside of the joist. So if we cut our joist 3 inches less than 6 feet, with the rim and the ledger, it'll be exactly 6 feet. There's not really any reason I couldn't make it 6'3", but we'll just keep it at exactly 6. And let's go ahead and get started. I am wet today, but work's going fast. And I only have the material here to frame it, and the decking's coming tomorrow. So maybe we'll be able to wrap this up and go dry out here today. I'm soaked all the way through. Sweating, well, getting wet. All right. Well, I'll get these cut real quick, and then you guys can help me frame this up.